Hello YouTube. Today is November 16th. Well, actually it's the 15th, but for you it's the 16th, or it's sometime after that. I'm recording videos ahead of time because last weekend I didn't, and I had to do like 4 at once on Monday, and that was a lot. So, I'm going to record these on Friday, and then they'll load Saturday and Sunday, and then you'll be back Monday. Okay. So this is the 16th video in my 30 videos in 30 days project, which I'm doing for the month of November, which is Transgender Awareness Month. I'm taking these questions from the 30 Days Trans Challenge, which was posted by the Miserable Muse on DeviantArt. The 16th question is, what's your rock anthem and why? I don't know. I guess, like, what music do I jam to? I don't know. I really don't. Let's see. How about songs that make me happy when I hear them, right? Okay, so number one has to be, On the Dark Side by, oh crap, I can't remember his name. Something in the Beaver Brown Band. It was the main song off of the Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack. And it was wholly created for the movie, as far as I understand. And Michael Pare didn't sing the songs that are in there. It was all performed by this one band, and released as the soundtrack. But every so often, it'll come out on the radio. All right, so I don't know. It was rare enough to come on the radio that John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. That's who actually sings it. So, every so often it comes on the radio, but it's rare enough, and I have a lot of fond memories of it, because it was one of my dad's favorite movies, so we watched it all the time when I was growing up. So there's all these, like, nice, fuzzy childhood associations with it. And my ex-wife had a similar experience with it. You know, her dad liked the movie, and they would listen, so they'd hear it all the time. I think he may even have had the soundtrack on vinyl, you know. But it comes on the radio once in a blue moon, or it used to come on once in a blue moon. For some reason, I was hearing it a lot for a while, but what we really sort of determined is that it's so happy-making to hear it just randomly that you can't have a good day. Like, the rule is, if you hear On the Dark Side on the radio, you have to have a good day. Like, it's just going to be a good day. And for a long time, we would call each other. You know, it was more when we were married, but, you know, it would come on the radio, and so we would call the other person and put the phone up to the radio and then be like, hey, it has to be a good day. And then it was just this little bright spot, right? Plus, it's a lot of fun to sing, and the gal who did the tambourine in the movie was really cute. So there's that. God, this is such a weird question. I like, okay, it's a little cliche, but I like a lot of Broadway music. So almost anything from Rent, is gonna brighten my day. And Rent is one of my, comfort movies. So if I'm having a really crummy day, I'm just really feeling like shit and just wanna, like, just feel it, I'll put the movie on and, you know, have a good cry. And, you know, oh my god, the funeral scene, the I'll Cover You, I can't remember what it is called when you call back to a song. I'm blanking on it. Reprise. The I'll Cover You reprise breaks my heart. Just absolutely breaks my heart. So I have the soundtrack on CD and MP3, and I'll just throw that on sometimes. So I'll really jam out to that. I have the Queen Greatest Hits compilation. There's 2 CDs. There's a Greatest Hits and Classic Hits, or something like that. Classic Hits is the one that has Bohemian Rhapsody on it. Greatest Hits has We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You, I've Got to Break Free, My Best Friend, a lot of really great music. But it was one of the first CDs I ever bought, okay? So I got my first CD player when I was 15. When I was 15, and I bought a number of CDs to go with it. One of the very first CDs I bought was this Queen disc. So we're coming up on 20 years ago now that I've owned this CD, and it actually still plays fine. It's in my car. I was jamming to it with the kids yesterday. Actually, so I've Got to Break Free is on there, okay? And I was telling my kids this story yesterday, because my daughter is about to be 12, and I've got one that just turned 10. They're starting to get into that area where their feelings are really volatile and strong and overwhelming. And they don't always see, eye to eye with me all the time. I have a great relationship with my kids. Like, sometimes, we argue, or they don't like what I have to say or something like that, but, we're usually pretty good at talking it out and working through, whatever the problem is, But I didn't have that relationship with my parents when I was growing up. So I was telling them that when I was like 17, I got in this huge, massive fight with my stepmother because she and I did not get along, okay? And, man, I was so mad and frustrated, and I felt like I wasn't heard, and no one respected anything I had to say, and, very much like a teenager, right? Not to say that my feelings weren't legitimate, because there was a lot of, being dismissed for the fact that I was a teenager, and no recognition of the fact that I had been taking care of myself and my brother since I was 9 years old, without her. Because she didn't marry my dad until I was 12 and some change, I think. We had lived with just my dad for a long time. And then my grandmother moved in with us, but, my brother and I were pretty independent and self-sufficient. We didn't really need a lot of supervision, we were responsible kids. Well, then my stepmother comes in, and she just didn't see that. As far as she was concerned, we were children. And she didn't have kids of her own, so all of a sudden she's got these 2 almost teenage boys, well, kids, to deal with, and we didn't fit the mold that she had decided teenagers are supposed to fit. So, I was used to getting up, and I'm telling stories out of school now, and it's probably pretty shitty, but for example, I was used to being able to get up and get a drink out of the fridge if I was thirsty, and go on about my day, right? And she had this thing where I was supposed to ask permission, and that included for things like getting a glass of water, and I was 13 years old, and I was just like, what the fuck? So we butted heads a lot, and so there was this one time where I was just hurt and angry and frustrated and a teenager and melodramatic, and so I just went into my room, and I closed the door, and I locked it, and I was just so angry, and I wrote a note. Really? I wrote a note, talking about how I didn't feel like I was wanted, and, I really want to find somewhere else to live, and I think I had just moved back into the house, because I had lived with my aunt for the summer, to take care of my baby cousin, 2 of my baby cousins during the day, while their moms were at work. So I was basically babysitting over the summer, but then, you know, once they got home from work or once they picked up their kids, I was free. Like, I was able to go do whatever I wanted and hang out with whomever I wanted. And, you know, I didn't need adult supervision, and I made my own plans and, you know, spent my own money, and I didn't need permission to live, you know, my life. And so then I moved back into this environment where that was not the case, you know. So I wrote this note, and I put on I've Got to Break Free by Queen, and put it on repeat and turned it up really loud, and then I snuck out the window. So I've locked the door and I snuck out the window, and I'm just seething, and I went for a walk, and I wanted to clear my head and you know, just sort of get my head screwed on straight about this whole thing, and cool off and blow off some steam. So I walked around, and I don't even know where I went. I didn't go talk to anybody. I just sort of left for about 2 hours, I think. And I was just so mad. And finally, I cooled down. I came home, snuck back in the window. The music's still playing. Door's still locked. Note's still there. So I turned off the music, and I walked out the door, and no one had any idea I was gone. It was just so melodramatic. And so that is just stuck in my head now, attached to that song. And, you know, now I look back and I can recognize just how melodramatic that really was, like how overwrought that whole idea was. But it doesn't mean that my feelings weren't, like, valid. You know, I had legitimate reason to feel the way that I felt. But, you know, it was a very teenage way of dealing with it. So, I guess I don't really have one rock anthem. But, you know, those are the kinds of things that just make me happy to hear. Yeah, so a lot of things by Queen. On the Dark Side by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. And pretty much the whole Rent soundtrack. There's a couple other things like that, but I'm not really a music person. You know, a lot of people are music people. My ex was a music person. Like, she felt it. Like, she was into the music, and it was powerful to her, and it impacted her, and it just never... That never really happened to me. Not for anything. Unless there was a story to go along with it. So that's why a lot of musicals affect me in that way. But there's a whole story that goes along with it. You know, if I hear the song without knowing the play that it goes to, it doesn't really impact me the same way. Okay, my God. So now I've talked for like 13 and a half minutes about a topic I didn't really have an answer for. And you've gotten a couple of stupid stories along the way. So I hope that's enough. I'm going to call it quits here. So leave me messages, comments below. Find me on Tumblr, brinconvenient.tumblr.com. On Twitter, @brinconvenient. And by gender.net/forum. See you guys tomorrow.